Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining us once again for our second Yamaha live show. Gotta say, greatly appreciate you all joining us once again. We can't wait to get things started here. I'm still Scott Newby with our Marketing Communications Motorsports team here in Georgia, and we have more fun-filled Yamaha information coming your way this hour. So as you know, we want this show to be a benefit to you, our Yamaha family. This is a series that's meant to give you more information on Yamaha, including in-depth looks at our vehicles and Yamaha genuine parts and accessories, behind-the-scenes peeks into a variety of the activities we do, introduce you to many of the wonderful, passionate people working here at Yamaha, give you never-before-seen backgrounds and stories on how our vehicles are tested, developed, and designed to be proven off-road, and so much more. In addition to the fact, we know you have questions, so why not get the straight scoop and correct answer from Yamaha? Now, if you joined us on the debut episode a few weeks ago or watched it after, thank you. We're stoked to have you back. If you couldn't make it, you missed out, but don't fret, for we have the long-form video across all of our Yamaha Outdoors social channels, and we will with all these episodes going forward, so you can repeatedly watch and enjoy to your heart's content. However, if you can't watch, but you can listen, that's cool too. Search Yamaha Outdoors on your preferred podcast platform, mash the subscribe button, for we'll be posting up audio-only files of this show for your dome's listening enjoyment. And yes, episode 1 is already up, so make sure you do subscribe there as well. With all that out of the way, let's dig into episode 2, which we're going to continue with the Wolverine Wednesday theme, because we're going to feature some of the awesome new Yamaha genuine parts and accessories from the all-new Wolverine RMAX 1000 lineup. And as I'm sure you know, the great thing is many of the accessories will carry over into the returning Wolverine X2 and X4 models, thanks to the enhancements that 2021's received. If you haven't seen these enhancements, check them out on YamahaOutdoors.com, but of course, do that after the show. Because back here with us live, we have our ATV and side-by-side testing manager, Mr. Patrick Biolsi.
Thanks, Scott. I am really excited to be back. And one thing I wanted to point out once again is we're just a small part of a bigger team, a much bigger team in multiple locations. From Yamaha Motor Corporation in Japan to Yamaha Motor Manufacturing Corporation here in Noonan, Georgia. And then, of course, here at YMUS, we've got the accessory design team and a much bigger accessory testing team as well. So I want to thank all those guys and everybody behind the scenes that help us talk about to you guys all these great accessories.
Thank you, Pat. And one of the other key members that we do have is a guest that is new joining us today. Not new to Yamaha, but you'll probably recognize him. That's our Motorsports Product and Accessory Development Division Manager, Mr. Travis Hollins.
All right, thanks, Scott. Yeah, super happy to be here as well. I think we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I feel like we're going to have not enough time to talk about it all, but we'll give it our best shot.
But we have plenty of time, don't worry about that. I'm looking forward to you guys, and as you can see here, we have a few of our RMAX 1000 models with us that we drug through our parts and accessories catalog, and we're going to highlight for you all today. Before we dig in, I want to remind everyone, we have the Q&A opportunity with these experts later in the show, but don't feel like you have to wait until then to chat. Comment below so we can compile everything we don't cover and even give some shout outs as we go along. So please start commenting. Now, gentlemen, please, to start, enlighten our audience not only to what Yamaha genuine parts and accessories are, but why we have both Yamaha employees from testing and accessory development with us here tonight.
Yeah, definitely, Scott. You know, I think the thing we want to make sure everybody is aware of is just how much effort and work goes into the Yamaha genuine accessories. Like Pat mentioned earlier, we've got a lot of design engineers, we got testing guys and the guys that actually do all the styling. All of those guys work together to create all of the unit and the accessories. So we just have the ability to have the access to a lot of key players and people that work on the original vehicle, but then also influence the accessories that go with it. So one of the main things we want to be able to have Pat talk about is how much testing goes into the accessories as well as the unit, and how that impacts the accessories.
Yeah, one of the most important things about testing the accessories is we test them in the same ways we test the unit. So we go to the same locations, whether it's the desert, the mountains, in the mud. We evaluate these vehicles and the accessories in the same locations, in the same terrains, to make sure that it's very customer centric. We want to be doing what you're doing. So depending on what the vehicle is intended for, that's where we evaluate the vehicle, and that's where we evaluate the accessories the same exact way, using the same staff and using a lot of the same resources.
Absolutely, and that makes for the best accessories.
No doubt about it. So we're making sure that our vehicles are proven off-road, as well as all of our Yamaha genuine parts and accessories being proven off-road. Now, speaking of one of the most popular accessories we have out there, gentlemen, tell me about the windshields that we have.
All right, yeah, so we're going to start with the poly windshields. We'll talk about the glass windshield a little bit later, but for right now, our poly windshields, we actually make 3 versions of them. We've got a half windshield, a full windshield, and a folding style windshield. And you know, a lot of the windshields out there from the aftermarket or other OEMs, they might give some lower quality windshield options, meaning they don't have a hard coating or the poly might not be as thick. With ours, we want to make sure that everybody gets a good experience with their poly windshields. So our windshields are actually all hard coated on both the inside and the outside, so you can be assured that the maximum amount of scratch protection, both on the inside and the outside, and also the best fit. So there's a lot of integration points on the vehicle itself to make sure that those windshields fit really tight, seal really well, and perform the way that they should. Pat goes out, tests them, evaluates them, and then makes changes based on that feedback. And I know he's got a lot of stories about how they've done that.
Yeah, I mean, just to start with the hard coating, I mean, this is going way back, you know, to early Viking days and even before that. There was a lot of discussion about whether to go hard coating or not hard coating. And when we evaluated some of the stuff that was out there, whether it was for other companies' vehicles or from the aftermarket, and it can be significantly cheaper, maybe $100 or $150 cheaper to do a non-hard coated. But you're still talking about a few $100s for a windshield that's non-hard coated. And when we evaluated it, whether it was just in the dust or as soon as you cleaned it off, just wiping the dust off, it scratched it to the point where it was really going to be a detriment to your visibility. So we worked with our product planning group and the design group, like it's not even worth it to us to do non-hard coated, just based on they just don't hold up and you've wasted all that money because you can't see through the windshield anymore. So that came from testing.
Yeah, and we want to make sure the customers have a good experience. So we just can't accept that level of you know, durability, you know, out of our products. We're really looking for that maximum experience for our customers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So something that I'm even learning too are all of the new kind of updates and features that we have on just the folding windshield here alone. So Pat, why don't you kind of tell me about that?
There's some excellent stuff with the new folding windshield, and we had a folding windshield on the previous generation X4 and X2, which did work really well, but with the changes to the RMAX, of course the ROPS is different, the styling of the vehicle is different, but this vehicle is capable of a lot higher speeds, it's got a lot more suspension travel, so it's capable of going over much rougher terrain at higher speeds. And what does that mean to the windshield? Number one is stability. So when I talk about stability with a windshield, we don't like the windshield flexing back and forth because that can be really distracting to you while you're driving. And again, at higher speeds, rougher terrain, the early designs of that windshield, it's moving too much. So it also had an effect on sealing. So which is really important obviously for the folding windshield because we've got this hinge point. So we've always had a seal in between the 2 flanges. But when it was moving too much in those early designs, especially obviously in the rain, the water would start to seep through here because the windshield was flexing so much that it would actually break the seal and water would seep through there. And that's not meeting people's expectations. So our design team came up with an idea. They improved the seal, but they added this extra angle to the flange. They extended it out, added this extra angle to the flange, and that improved the stability and reduced the movement of the windshield in that hinge point to improve the sealing, whether it was dust, water, and of course reducing the distraction you've noticed from the increased movement on the previous design. Of course, it's got toolless clamps, which make it easy to take it on and off if you want to. But carrying over from our X4 and X2 design, we had this lower trough, if you will, in the front hood design, which really helped us keep it sealed at the bottom, but of course helps stability as well. This whole bottom part of the windshield being supported by that trough really helps as far as reducing the windshield movement. And then at the top here as well, with the new ROPS design, the new sun top, we changed this seal concept really. The old one sealed underneath the lip, now this seals on the front of the lip of the sun top, which again really improved the tension on the seal, whether it's dust or water. We don't want water or dust coming through the top here. And then lastly, the last little thing that was added pretty late in development, again was based on, we know most people are going to run a glass windshield with a hard cab, for example, are going to run a heater kit. This vehicle is equipped with a heater kit, which has a defogging function for the windshield. We found there are going to be some customers that are going to run a folding poly windshield in that setup. So what we found was this hinge was inhibiting airflow through the hinge, and it wasn't defogging this upper part of the windshield for the driver and the passenger. So our design team came up with these slots. We tried a bunch of different slots, a bunch of different shapes, and totally fogged this thing out on the inside of the vehicle. And by using a garden hose on the hot motor, and really simulated that situation when you drive through a puddle, and you can really get a lot of fogging on the inside of the windshield, and those holes in the flange really helped improve the defogging function of the windshield.
And the nice thing too is it's not like you just cut holes in it, you're like, okay, yeah, we're done. I mean, you tested different shapes and everything too as well, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice, very nice. Okay, so moving on here, we have windshields. Now, on this R-Max as well, we do have the front brush guard on it, as well as the front bash plate on it.
That's true. You know what?
Oh,
I did want to bring up this is new for this year.
Perfect.
The half windshield. Our product planning team talked about a wind deflector. Just keeping the airflow off your chest is really important for some people, depending on your climate and what you're looking for. But what we did during development we haven't had a half windshield in many years for the new R-Maxes, and it also fits the 2021 X2 and X4, was topside visibility and of course stability. Just like with the hinge style, when we fold down the windshield, you want this hinge area to maintain good visibility. If it's too high, of course you're going to get better deflection of the air, but you're going to reduce your visibility if the windshield's dirty or dusty, muddy, and you can't see over the front of it. So these extra flange, the extra bends to the flange here, again, maintain excellent stability at the top of the windshield, because if this is moving a lot, again, it can be distracting. But of course, we don't want a lot of distortion here as well. Some of the other windshields out there, they have some complex curves to them, but they can be really distracting. As you're trying to look through the edge of the windshield, it really can be distracting as you see that distortion or that fisheye effect that can happen when you bend polycarbonate a certain way. So we want to maintain good visibility through the half windshield, and of course at that transition point was really important too.
I think another great key thing too, the Yama Lube cleaner that we have for your windshield as well.
Absolutely. So Yama Lube makes a lot of different cleaners and polishes, and we make one that's specific for polycarbonate and windscreens, whether it's on your helmet or on the vehicle itself. And a great thing about it is it actually helps prevent some of that fogging from happening in the first place. So really, really cool stuff. Make sure you definitely check out all our Yama Lube products as well.
ShopYamaha.com. Now, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the XDR that we have here up on the lift.
All right.
It's going to be a little bit tough to see. I'm going to jump in and say there's a solid polycarbonate windshield way up there. I can't point to it real well. I'm going to turn it back over to Travis, but that, again, incorporates all the same things we've been talking about with the other windshields too.
Exactly. That's the full windshield. And the great thing is it takes 4 toolless clamps. You can just take it on and off, probably, I don't know, what, 30 seconds?
Yeah.
It's really, really helpful. Okay, so we're going to start talking about some protection items. We have an XTR edition up here on the lift, and we got a lot of cool things on here. I'm going to start kind of up here and talk about the pod lights. So these pod lights were kind of inspired by, of all things, a Ford Raptor. And it kind of really gives that cool look to the front end, but it also makes them very functional. So we've actually have a mount that mounts 2 pod lights per side, and they actually allow you to angle those in different directions so that you can really open up the trail and see what's on all sides of the trail itself. I know testing, again, has had a lot of experience with that. They wanted to make sure that the angles were usable, functionable, and actually made a difference.
Yeah, because they're recessed a little bit behind this plastic cover, it was important that we actually angled the inner LED light out towards the outer part of the trail, and in tight technical terrain, especially after dark, it can function as a rock light in a way. And of course, we've got pod light mounts for the rear brush bar as well, so you can really light up the sides of the trail, because sometimes it could be a little disconcerting to just look in that one tunnel of light. So again, that inner one is really nicely angled out to give you that benefit of the rock light on the sides of the trail.
Absolutely. And the other cool thing is the wiring harness is a direct plug and play, utilizing those rocker switch locations. We've got a whole bunch of them. How many do we have? 20 of them? 11 of them?
Total, yeah.
Like a whole bunch. I mean, they're all over the place on the R-Max, and really allows for installing those electrical accessories and makes it very simple. Kind of moving down, we're going to talk about that front skid plate there on the front. That really takes a lot of abuse on the trail. So we had to really make sure that that part was really strong and could really take some impacts and some hits, especially when you're out there in the big rock sections of the trail. You know, Pat spent a lot of time out in Johnson Valley and can really attest to that.
Yeah, I mean, our design and product planning team wanted to make this front skid plate. We've got this cool new styling for the RMAX, and they really wanted to make the front skid plate match that styling and look cool. Totally get that. But of course, from the testing side, we want to make sure that if you make contact with a trail obstacle, rock, tree stump, whatever it happens to be, especially since it's made out of aluminum and it has nothing to support it behind it, even though it looks cool, if we cave it in on making light contact with the trail obstacle, that wasn't going to meet people's expectations.
Exactly.
So the design team did a great job. They actually added a steel backing plate to this. That's what these 4 bolts are here. And that actually, now it's meeting our expectations. It's exceptionally strong. Again, you make light contact with stuff on the trail, you're not going to cave it in. So it looks cool, and it of course has great function from our perspective when you make contact with the trail obstacle.
And you got a lot to protect there. I mean, there's a winch back there and a lot of steering components and stuff. So you want to make sure all that stuff doesn't get damaged out on the trail.
And of course, it integrates well. It uses the factory mounts, and we've got these very unique new tie-down points. We talked about it last time, but of course, it integrates with these new factory tie-down points, which make it really convenient whether it's on the trail, and you can put that D-ring shackle in there as well, and integrates with the front bash plate, front skid plate.
Exactly. And we'll talk about it a little bit longer, but a little bit later, I should say. But all those skid plates integrate with each other. So we'll talk about the lower skid plate in a minute, but all that integration is very seamless underneath. The next thing we're going to talk about is the A-arm guards. And you'll notice these guards are actually mounted to factory installed mounting points. So this is another example of where we were able to actually talk to the factory. We knew that we were going to be installing these these accessory skid plates, genuine Yamaha accessories. So we wanted to make sure that we had a mounting structure that was strong enough to hold these. We didn't want hose clamps or some other things that some of the aftermarket companies do. So we incorporated those mounts directly into the factory machine so that these mount very solid to the vehicle.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to make sure, as you can see, this vehicle's been through the ringer. We've actually made contact with some of those trail obstacles we're talking about. These aren't all show and no-go. And one of the key things you mentioned, Travis, those integrated factory mounting points really matter a lot when you do make contact with trail obstacles. You know, if you use some of the other stuff out there, might use a J-hook that wraps around the A-arm, and they work fine until you make contact with something. Then it's very easy to break them loose, and they get loose when you make contact with that, and the threads break loose, and it can be not meet people's expectations for durability when it comes to the A-arm guards. One other quick thing I'll point out about the A-arm guards that happened that we really had to find a good balance point during evaluation, especially here on the East Coast. You get a lot of mud built up in A-arm guards, and that can be a problem, especially around CV joints, especially if it's cold outside. They get cold, the mud builds up, freezes around your CV joint or around the boot, it's going to break the boot. So of course, we want to make sure keep the boots intact because those are really important to maintain your CV boot life. And so we actually added these drain holes. So it allows mud to flow through, and then of course you're still going to be able to find mud that's going to build up there, but make sure you wash your vehicle after you use it, and the mud has some place to go. So you don't always have to take the A-arm guards off. If it was all solid all the way through, you'd have to take them off and rinse all that mud out and make sure it doesn't build up around your axles and your CV boots. And then it's actually also on the rear A-arm guards too, and we really did focus with the design team and come up with the right size holes and the right amount of holes, because if we added too many, of course, then it's not going to slide over obstacles. It's not going to protect those A-arms and the CV boots underneath it nearly as well if we have too many holes. So we really focused on the shape, the size, make sure when you wash the vehicle, it flows through.
Speaking of flowing through, the rest of the skid plates we have on here as well.
It's one of my favorite accessories that people can't see.
We'll see if we can get a good angle for everyone here.
I love these UHMW PE skid plates because they're really quiet, they're really smooth, and if you're somebody that likes to get into nasty rocks, really technical terrain, they really enhance the whole experience. They're 3/8 of an inch thick, and you can see all the recessed hardware. One thing we talk about with all this hardware is it's all recessed, and we always talk about the difference between using a hex bolt or an Allen bolt. We have this discussion with our design team and our product planning team. You know, a button head Allen would be even more tucked away. But what we found is people don't often take the skid plates off a lot, but when they do, they'd have to pick those Allen screws out, pick all the mud out, with a sharp pick or a small screwdriver, which can be really inconvenient. So using a hex head, it sticks out a little bit more, but it's still, you can see the dimple in this A-arm guard and the skid plate to try to minimize that damage. And of course, as you slide over obstacles, the bolt's going to stay out of the way. Again, you can see one other key feature that happened early in development. You can see where I'm pointing to. We had a really muddy durability event. It was raining the whole week long, so we were driving this vehicle, or driving one of the vehicles in muddy ruts almost the whole time. And what we found was this leading edge, since we're dragging it through the mud over and over again, it wasn't overlapped properly and it wasn't perfectly flush. So it actually started to peel away that front edge of the belly pan skid plate portion. So the design team, again, added a nice feature. They recessed this right here to make sure, again, the vehicle's going to slide over those muddy ruts and not peel away that front edge, which was really important. And of course, we added that feature to the RMAX 4 as well, which is a slightly longer skid plate, but it's the same kit. So I love these UHMW PE skid plates, and they integrate really well with the rock sliders, which I think we're going to move on to next.
We are. Quick question, Pat. The RMAX comes with a skid plate on it already, right?
That's true. Full welded steel skid plates on all of the RMAXs. They work really well. They're incredibly strong, keep all the underside of the vehicle protected very well, but they just can be a little bit louder when you're if you're somebody who's going to drive over rocks. You're going to feel the steel. You're going to notice the steel scraping and banging through there.
You just want to protect it and keep it from getting banged up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's the key point. Is a lot of these protection items, they function as far as protecting the vehicle, but they also keep it nice looking. Keep it kind of that factory condition. And in this case, the skid plates actually slide over those obstacles easier. They don't get hung up and create a kind of a more smooth, more pleasant feeling when you're bashing through the rocks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and the Wolverine RMAX 2 1000 models, they have class-leading ground clearance, suspension travel as it is, and I'm so surprised at all the different places we've driven them at, and it's like you're expecting to kind of get some sort of bump or thud, but nothing happens. But I tell you what, some of those extreme areas we've gone to, out at Sand Hollow and everything, where we had the skid plates on it, if you do get any contact, you're right, Pat. I mean, it just makes it so quiet, so smooth, and you don't get hung up. I mean, it's just, if you do a lot of rock crawling, no question about it, they're a great accessory to have.
Yeah, and one more thing I should have added was the access points for service items. When you're draining oil, whether it's in the diffs or the engine or the transmission, all the same access holes are there in the accessory skid plates.
Yep, exactly. And same thing with the side rails, the rock sliders, right? That protects the frame, protects the body itself, so you don't end up with kind of a beat up frame rail on the side, and protects those and keeps them from getting hung up on those obstacles.
Yeah, they integrate really well with those UHMW skid plates, and they're 1/8" powder coated steel, so they're exceptionally strong.
Super heavy duty. Yeah.
Again, testing in really tough technical terrain, whether you're pivoting around a tree or a rock, like Scott said at Sand Hollow, it makes a really nice difference as far as being able to pivot on something and not tear the plastic up, which again, some of the other vehicles, you're going to deal with that as you're going through that type of terrain. And we've got these awesome new doors, nice thick doors that can accommodate a speaker. So we really want to make sure that the bottom of the frame actually helps protect from those obstacles coming up and damaging the door. So that's one thing these enhance even more.
Yeah, I mean, they're legit frame mounted, no question about it too. They're not going to damage the door. You can hit them, and it's not like it's going to bump up in the door. I mean, they'll handle some gnarly stuff.
Exactly. And I like that point, Pat. When you're coming around a tree or a rock, it keeps the vehicle off of those obstacles, so you don't beat up your body. Or on the XTR edition, the painted plastic and all that, it keeps it all looking nice, not just the frame rail. So
speaking of looking nice, thank you for the segue. Check out these tires and wheels we have on the RMAX 2 1000 here, XTR edition.
Yeah, we're super proud of the standard tires that come on the variety of RMAX models. We worked with Maxxis and GBC with some excellent OE tires. And we've got some really cool looking wheels. But we know there's some people that, again, they drive in a very specific terrain. You're a Moab guy, a Sand Hollow guy, somebody who rides in the Southwest desert. you might really be interested in something that really focuses on a hard terrain traction. You also might want a beadlock option, which we don't have currently. So we worked with standard. So we worked with the accessory group, come up with something cool, but these do cost a lot. You know, if you want to make the machine your own and you want a beadlock option, we want to make sure, one of the most common things we hear from people is they're not sure what offset should I run. You know, we really want to make sure you maintain the great handling character that the standard R-Maxes have. So we really, these aren't our tires and wheels necessarily, but we wanted our accessory group to be able to give people the confidence that when you bought these tires and wheels from Yamaha, they were going to meet your expectations when it came to traction, of course, but then handling character, maintaining a good steering feel, which is, again, so valuable to so many customers in a wide variety of terrain. So they're going to know that these are going to work as you expect. The Efx Moto Hammer, 30, 10, 14, full square setup, 8-ply rated radial, so excellent sidewall durability, nice cushion feel, again on those sharp transitions in the rocks, but excellent tire traction in that hard terrain. That's what we're focused on.
And now we also offer the Moto Claws as well, correct?
Right, on this LE we've got the Efx Moto Claw, again square setup, 30, 10, 14. All three of these setups that we're going to talk about are full square setups. What does that mean? It's the same way all around, same width. So you only have to carry one spare or keep one spare back at home. None of them are directional either. So again, you can run it on left side, right side, doesn't matter. The Moto Claw works really well in a wide variety of terrain. 8-ply rated radial again. Has excellent mud rut traction as well. You might be riding on more intermediate dirt, but a lot of those trails can get rutted out. So the sidewall lugs provide excellent traction in those muddy ruts, but of course it really has an excellent sidewall durability feel, even more than most tires that we found. So it works in a wide variety of terrain.
Coming over the MTCs.
The Efx Moto Mtc, it's a great mud tire with good trail crossover. It's not a super serious mud tire, but if you spend a lot of time here in the Southeast like we do, it's got 2-inch lugs. It's actually a 6-ply bias construction. So it has a really soft, cushiony feel. A lot of mud tires can be really stiff, really harsh. These have a nice cushion feel to them, but again, they provide excellent mud traction, but again, meet people's expectations for steering and overall handling character, which can be hard to find in a mud tire.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, we're not just slapping this stuff on or putting it in the catalog saying, hey, it fits. You guys are going out there, you're testing to make sure that not only does it work good, but looks good as well. And the cool thing is you can't tell whether or not they're bead lock, they're faux lock. I mean, you can get kind of all options for whatever that you need to use it for.
Yeah, we find that most customers that are interested in mud tires or mud traction, they don't really focus on bead locks. They're usually not that far away from the truck, especially here in the Southeast. So those are actually faux bead locks. It's a little cheaper, a little lighter, and of course, it still meets people's expectations for durability.
And still looks good.
Yeah. Right on.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I mean, I see all you guys commenting. I love that you guys love your R-Maxes. We love riding them and being part of the development of them. So thank you guys very much. We're going to keep going. I know we're 30 minutes in. We've got a lot more to talk about. Starting with the white R-Max base model here, a lot of accessories available for this model. Starting with the front brush guard. I know a lot of you might be waiting for this to come in. You know, we haven't had them in stock yet, but we are due to have them in very shortly. I can tell you they're on the boat. They're coming in shortly, so please be patient with us. Also, from a winch perspective, the R-Max, we have a lot of winch options out there, whether it be the 4500 standard VRX winch or the Axon winch that's out there. We've got the steel cables, we've got the synthetic cables, and the great thing about the R-Max is there's no other mounting plates or anything like that required. They'll bolt right into the front grab bar, and you can be assured that the strength and the durability is there in the vehicle. Moving to the inside, we got a lot to talk about in here. You'll see that this, again, being a base model, doesn't come with the D-mode switch, so you can actually add that as an optional feature. The lighted switches themselves, if I turn this on real quick, you'll be able to see that. They all light up, very cool. The audio is going to come on here in a second, so be prepared for that. There you go.
There it is.
But you can see we've actually added the speaker pods in the door, so that audio system sounds really, really good. The floor lights that you can add to the base model as well. The Adventure Pro, that's another great feature, very integrated into the machine, gives you all the feedback from the engine itself. These are all the extra electrical outlets that we were talking about that you can add for different accessories. This one here, we've actually got the heater installed. So you'll see this is the high, the off, and the low for the heater. You'll see the vents are actually in the dash themselves, so you can rotate those depending on which direction you are in the cab, or turn one side off to get more heat on your side. And one more thing about the heater, this is a new design for the R-Max. We've added what we call a thermostat bypass to this, so it actually heats up quicker and maintains that temperature at a higher level. You will see it mounted under the seat here. So this is the heater itself, and it actually works with the subwoofer. And if you want, we don't have it installed here, that there's a second battery kit that would also fit under that seat. So if you're wondering what all that storage space under the seat's for, that's what it's for. You can put the subwoofer, you can put the heater, you can put the spare tire or spare battery kit in there, and really have access to a whole bunch of accessories. Also with this vehicle, you can get the rear view mirror. Again, that's the factory rear view mirror that comes with the special edition models. And really, I'll say is the best rear view mirror in the industry, hands down. Gives you a great view, not a lot of distortion, doesn't vibrate, gives you a big clear picture. So with that, we're gonna actually move to the back side here. I don't know, Scott, do you want to show them that heater bypass kit in there, and you can kind of see it mounted in the engine. You'll see it has a blue hose on it. We kind of did that so you guys can see what we're looking at. The kit that comes from the factory will have a black hose on it, and will be routed appropriately. But again, these are our development machines. So these are vehicles that physically get out, they get driven, and we use them for the development purposes.
Like I said, we're doing this to give you a behind-the-scenes peek, so there you go.
This is the rock. This is where it all happens. All right, let's talk about the rear cargo bed. So back here, we've got the spare tire carrier. This actually mounts in the cargo bed itself, so it's very, very strong. Uses this kind of 3-point ratchet strap, so it's very easy to get on and off. And then we've also got in the cargo bed the cargo box back here. So really cool roto-molded design. It's got a seal all the way around the edge to keep the dust and the water out. You can actually mount this in this kind of rearward position, or if you didn't have the spare tire, you could mount it in the front and give you access to the back. It's got a drain in it as well, and it's very easy to mount. It actually has these thumb wheel, sorry Scott, move it to this side, these thumb wheels screws that actually screw in and hold it in. So you can actually take that in and out very, very easily and not have to worry about it.
No, Travis, I wanted to add something about that.
Absolutely.
Back in the day, we've been working on cargo boxes for a long time. And some of the earlier ones, we actually had, of course, a steel screw for the thumb screw, but the handle was plastic. And most people don't put really heavy items back here, but we found when we did put heavy items back there and they weren't secured really well, it actually broke that plastic handle. So that was where we came up with the design team. It's a nice, big, thick steel thumb wheel that's obviously resistant to damage. You're not going to ding it up or damage it in any way. You're always going to be able to pull it out with your hands.
Exactly. And that's just another great example of the feedback we get from testing. All these accessories go through a whole bunch of testing and durability and recommendations from the guys. One last thing I wanted to touch on is the rear brush guard. You'll see this back here. Again, it protects the whole rear of the tailgate, the rear tail lights. Again, the backup lights on the R-Max, super cool. And really just kind of protects the whole rear of the vehicle. If you're out in the trees, it's dark out, and you don't see it, or somebody else comes up behind you, you never know what happens out on the trail. But again, it provides that extra level of protection for you while you're out there, and keeps the machine clean. One last thing, I know we don't have it mounted on here, but I want to touch on it, is the rear cargo bed lights. So we have an optional rear cargo bed light. It's 2 LED lights. They mount up into the rear sun top. There's actually mounting locations up there specifically for it. And the wiring harnesses, again, going all the way to the front and it just really allows you to utilize that cargo bed in low light situations, and just a really cool feature.
Yeah, and I don't know if you mentioned, you can add the LED pod lights to the rear brush guard, which
point.
again, you can fill up one of those 11 rocker switch locations with LED pod lights for the rear as well, the front, and of course the rocker switches mount for those cargo bed lights that Travis is talking about on those that rocker panel.
And we do have optional electrical connectors on the arm axes that allow you to plug in these accessories, and we have an accessory harness kit that will allow you to utilize those electrical points, right?
Yeah, I know a lot of guys, a lot of people want to just come up with stuff on their own. So by using that factory pigtail or selling that factory pigtail, it's going to make sure that connection's a lot more secure and a lot more OE style. Even if you have an aftermarket accessory that doesn't work, doesn't come with that pigtail, we're selling that kit so you can modify that and make it work like an OE part.
Exactly. There's nothing worse than having to try to, cut into your factory wiring harness and, kind of make something work. So that really cleans everything up and makes it really, really clean and factory-like. So I think that pretty much covers it for the RMAX base model here, as well as the XTR edition. We're going to take you guys over here and show you something kind of special. We wanted to give you a little sneak peek of the cab enclosure. So this is the hard cab that's coming out. We're still in development of it. So it's going to be, honestly, it's probably going to be the summertime of next season before this comes out. But we really want to make sure that it's perfect when you guys get it. There's a lot that goes into these cabs. There's a lot of engineering, there's a lot of design, there's a lot of fitment, and a whole bunch of testing that has to go into this. So we're doing our best to make sure we get it out as quick as possible. But again, we wanted to give you kind of a sneak peek of this cab that we're actually developing right now and about to go into some of our long-term durability with it. So just starting with the side, you'll notice that the design and the styling of the cab actually is done by our design group that designed the RMAX. I think everybody's been super impressed with the styling of the RMAX. Really looks tough and really accentuates those strong features. So again, this design really flows and matches that. Going up to the windows, you'll notice how big this window is. It's really a big window that allows you to have a lot of visibility. Sometimes when you get into these cabs, they really can kind of be claustrophobic and tight. So having these really big windows, not only on the side, but on the back as well, really helps. And again, you can see this window actually folds all the way back. It'll actually lock in so it can't go anywhere, and that allows you to have a lot of airflow. Or if you want, you can actually latch this in a semi-open position. So again, if you want to see this latch right here, Scott, this latch right here will actually go in, and it latches in, and then it locks. So that can't come out. And so this stays in an open position. So again, when you're driving down, you can get a lot of airflow. If you get into a situation where you don't want to accidentally catch that, then you can actually pull this to the inside, lock it in, and it completely closes up the cab itself. Looking at the door, you'll see that this door is actually double skinned. So you have a skin on the outside for the body, but then you also have a very factory looking finish on the inside. Of course, we incorporate the speaker pod. So again, this limited edition model comes with its own audio system. So we wanted to make sure that you can actually bring that or carry that over into the full cab enclosure itself. A lot of other cool features. The factory ROP system actually has mounting points for the structure itself. So again, you're not drilling into your brand new vehicle and kind of trying to fit it yourself. It's all designed to fit. And then one more cool thing is we've actually incorporated a mount for mirrors into here. You pull this little plug out, your mirrors will screw right in, and you'll have very easy to have side mirrors. The rear window here, you notice again, really big, lots of area, kind of a smoky tint to it, if you will, and then it's a sliding window. So this will slide and latch, and again, be able to be fully secure. One thing I forgot to mention, fully lockable. So again, some of the competitive models out there from some of the other brands, they don't allow you to lock the cab. So being able to secure your belongings inside the vehicle, I think is very, very important for these customers. Looking at the front windshield, this is a full glass windshield, incorporating and mounting into the design of the machine itself. A lot of those same integration points that Pat talked about earlier, the channel or the trough that Pat called it earlier, really allows that windshield to fit into there, really clean, completely seals it off. You're not getting any airflow through there. Of course, the windshield wiper that keeps it clean. You've got a actual washer sprayer in there. The bottle is actually integrated into the hood compartment, just like an automobile would be. So mounting points in here, routing, wiring, all that. So really, really clean setup for the hard cab. And then again, we talked about the sun top, really integrating with all the windshields, but especially the glass windshield here. Fits underneath the lip so that the rain actually comes off and doesn't come down into the windshield itself. So one more thing I want to show you guys. We actually intentionally left the inner panel off of this driver's side door so we can kind of show you what's behind the scenes here. So you'll see this is a full steel caged front door. It'll actually come with its own hinges, so you can very easily remove the stock door and put this on very, very quickly. And again, this is that speaker pod that we were talking about earlier. So you'll see this whole section right here is the actual speaker pod, and it will transfer from your OEM door, your factory door, into the cab. Or if you would like, we actually sell these as a kit, so you can have one set of speakers in your cab, keep the OEM speakers in the factory door, and then you can see we actually have the door handle on the inside, which operates the mechanism for opening and closing. Again, really high quality, really OEM level. Fit and finish is really spectacular on this machine. You'll also notice the rear view mirror, no interference with the windshield wiper. I know Pat's got a little experience with some of the other vehicles on that you might want to talk about.
Yeah, you know, that's pretty important. Like Travis said, we're really proud of the mirror, the center mounted mirror on the vehicles, on the R-Maxes. And we noticed on some of the other vehicles in the market, when you put the hard cab enclosure on those vehicles or the glass windshields that have wiper motors, they actually can't use them with their center mounted mirror. You have to slide it completely over to the side, whether right in front of the driver's face or right in front of the passenger's face. So again, that was a really important thing. We didn't want you to lose that center mounted mirror when we're gonna run the wiper motor. So again, making sure we had enough clearance there and making sure it had that OE integration feel was really important. I'm gonna just reiterate a few things with this cab enclosure. If you're familiar with the old or the previous generation X4 and X2 cab enclosures, we wanted to improve the visibility. Like Travis said, the windows are noticeably bigger, whether it's the rear or the sides especially. So improve the visibility and actually improve the airflow as well. Those 3 different positions to the side windows, we wanted to really try to improve the airflow. We know obviously it can be cool in the morning, gets warmer later in the day. And again, none of the other vehicles out there, or I should say some of the other competitive vehicles out there, they don't offer a sliding rear window. So again, that helps with airflow through the cab when it gets warmer later in the day, if that happens to be your case. So variety of airflow, improved visibility, and of course, OE integration and quality were the 3 things we really focused on during development and continue to work on with the cab enclosure.
Exactly. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, the defrosters with the heater kit also work very, very well with the glass windshield. And I think one key thing to note is you can run an audio kit, you can run a heater, you can run a second battery kit. You can have all of that with the R-Max. I know some of the competitive models make you pick and choose between some of those features, and really that's not really acceptable for us.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that even just the washer fluid, being out of the way and it's not visible, it's not some ugly bulbous thing that's kind of blocking your view. And when you're inside there, I mean, you're right, you have such an amazing view all the way around. You don't have that claustrophobic feel and everything to it. So, and even, like you said, testing more, developing more, but all the way down to opening and closing the door thousands of times just to make sure that there are no failures. I mean, again, that's just to make sure that the fit and finish for you all is just, second to none.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Thanks, Scott.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think
All
we're
right.
kind of at that time to where we start fielding some questions from our audience. So does that sound good to you guys?
Let's
Excellent.
do it.
Cool. Well, before we do, want to remind everyone, you can try, but I'm sure as you're aware, we can't speak to future or hypothetical products. So with that off the table, let's see what you all want to know. Keep firing off the questions while we answer the ones in the meantime. And we'll get this deal going here. And again, all this stuff is on shopyamaha.com. But also another cool thing I want to make sure I point out to you guys, our BYO feature, Build Your Own feature. It's at WolverineRmax1000.com. Check it out. All these accessories and more, they're all available on there. You can see it. It's so cool. You can add stuff as you go. Not only you see pricing, the part numbers, but you see what it looks like built on the vehicle. You can spin it around all sorts of different ways, and it's just an amazing feature that we have out there. Plus, you can print it all out, send it to your dealer, be good to go, and get your RMAX 1000 lined up so you can realize your adventure.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing. If you ever get in there and get to play with it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
really twist it around and
I get
and
far
show
too
everything.
distracted sometimes doing that stuff, to say the least.
It's amazing what technology does these days.
Another thing too, I just wanted to say, with all of our accessories that we do have, so just so you know, there is a 1-year warranty from the point that you purchase it. And so we have a warranty with the parts and accessories, and I gotta plug it again, guys, I'm sorry, our Yamaha 10-year belt warranty, industry exclusive, no one else can say that can offer it. Our Ultramax transmission, it really is bulletproof to say the least. So that is that's something I'm always gonna love.
Absolutely.
Soft cab, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We do offer soft cabs for both the RMAX 2 and 4, as well as the X2 and the X4. Those, I believe, are all available right now. So
Yes, they are.
Please go in, talk to your dealer, and get it ordered.
Yeah, thank you, Ronald Sargent. Do appreciate that. If you guys even have any questions in the future, for one, feel free to send us any messages. Be more than happy to help you out. But don't forget, our customer relations line, 1-800-962-7926. Again, that's 1-800-962-7926. Call them. They'll be able to help you out, whether it's finding a dealer. They can figure out what dealer ordered parts that you're looking for. If you have some that's on back order that you do need, especially if you need it right away, they're there for you all the time to be able to help you out. So don't forget that is definitely an asset that you can utilize as well. Gary Patricia Fukala, the plow, yes, availability of the plow. How are we looking there?
The plow, we're still waiting on the plow mount, so I do apologize for that. We really are struggling with the COVID situation overseas and getting some of those parts on the boat and shipped over here. But I can assure you, we do have a plow mount that will work with the plow, the Warren Vantage plow, and it's on its way.
And we did plow some snow last spring with that accessory plow mount. We wanted to make sure, especially with the RMAX 4, going from a 29-inch tire to an accessory 30-inch tire, we made sure that the plow had enough clearance for the RMAX 4 with 30-inch tires, whether it's, again, the Moto Hammer, the Moto Claw, or the Moto Mtc. So the plow works with all three of the accessory tires on the RMAX 4 as well.
Anthony Williams, does the heater kit have some kind of filter for desert use?
I don't believe so.
No, don't have a, I guess maybe you're thinking maybe like a pumper style, but for using it for keeping the air inside the cab, I guess, or inside your helmet cleaner, no, it doesn't use a extra filter.
But otherwise, the nice thing is, that heater kit, it's underneath the driver's seat, it's tucked away, it's kind of hidden, so you don't really have to worry about too much debris and everything getting in there. Plus, on top of the fact that even just with the engine filter that we have, both the foam filter as well as the paper filter too. So
Absolutely.
If you're worried about dust and dirt and everything getting in there, you're sealed, you're good to go.
Absolutely.
All righty, cool. Well, I believe that's a lot of questions. Thank you all. Greatly appreciate you tuning in, to say the least. We're just going to call it the end of episode 2 here. Consider this adventure realized. We sincerely appreciate you joining us. Are grateful for your time and questions. Hope you tune in the next Yamaha Live. Please let us know your feedback in the comments section below with what you thought, as well as where you'd like us to go in the future and what you want us to cover in the future. That's why we did the Yamaha Genuine Parts and Accessories here today. Your feedback told us this was the next thing we need to cover. So please let us know what you want us to do in the next one as well. Obviously, don't forget to please like and follow us on social media at Yamaha Outdoors on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, and TikTok, as well as the Yamaha Outdoors podcast for everything audio. Check out our accessories and build your own feature on shopyamaha.com. Find out more on a proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com. We hope to meet you or see you on the trails again soon. And we all wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And y'all have a great one.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.